Hey everyone, I'm Jason from GameRave.com, and this is Pause Mode. So congrats to our YouTube viewer who found the secret download code for Devil May Cry Trilogy in our present tense video from last week. Hopefully we can do more giveaways like that in the future. So, after covering Bubsy 3D on the PlayStation, I felt it appropriate to tackle another not-so-loved, but definitely better product on the Dreamcast. Today's topic of discussion is a sexy pile of shame game is Charge 'n Blast. The original was a fairly obscure 1999 arcade title running on the Sega's Naomi hardware, which was essentially an arcade Dreamcast spec. In the game, it's a third-person shooter, but with a twist. Rather than running and gunning, you're tied to a horizontal plane of movement, with the enemies coming at you. The enemies are free to move as they please, which makes things a bit hairy on the defensive end. Your controls are fairly simple. You can move left or right, and then have three different methods of attack. These attacks are how Charge 'n Blast got its namesake. Rather than firing willy-nilly, you must press a button once to charge the attack and then again to unleash it. This turns the game into a bizarre strategic form of Space Invaders, if you've played Space Invaders flat. After several waves of enemies, you're brought face to face with a giant, oversized level boss. These run the gamut of stereotype to blatant Godzilla ripoff, but they do have the game's most frustrating strategy elements. Before you can do any real damage, you'll need to destroy a shield generator somewhere on their body. Once that's removed, you can open up with firepower. To help keep things interesting, fans of high score runs will appreciate a smaller detail in the gameplay. Every so often, your commanding officer will warn you not to destroy something specific in the background. If you're able to do so, you gain extra reward points, but on a deeper level, it means you really need to get good at aiming and not miss your shots. While most people will ignore this, it's a nice change of pace for trying to get players to improve their shot scores. Coming home from the arcades didn't change much for Charge 'n Blast. In fact, it's practically a direct port aside from a time attack mode. If we were to do a Dreamcast version of the top 5 arcade ports like we did PlayStation, we wouldn't even put this to paper. Because it's an arcade game, Charge 'n Blast lasts for about an hour or so, depending on your skill level. With just the time attack options as an alternative, your only real replay angle is to beat it with each of the 3 characters. After that, unless you just need to beat your own personal time records, Charge 'n Blast doesn't really demand an encore. Thanks to it being a pile of shame, that does mean it's an average of $10, though mint copies can also go from 15 to 20. When I first played this game back at GameShark, it came across as a shitty budget title with confusing mechanics. 15 years later, with a personally matured view of life, it's more of a once every few years fun little romp. If you actually played this at the arcade, you'd probably spend about $5 to $10 just to get through it. So if you play the Dreamcast version more than once, you got your money's worth. Alright guys, that does it for this week. We'll see you back on GameRave TV next week. Have a great one. Take care.